As of recently, it's felt like there's been a passing of the torch moment in the NBA where the older icons of the NBA are really stepping down and new icons are emerging and establishing themselves as the new faces and icons of the league. And the previous faces of the league have been Steph Curry, LeBron James, and Kevin Durant. And to be fair to them, they're still faces of the league, they're still icons, and all three of them are playing at an all-star level. And their longevity has to be commended and marveled at because all three of them, they're in their late 30s or they're in their 40s and they're still playing at a very high level. They're still keeping it up. But it feels like as of recent times, the NBA is shifting towards a new direction and the younger players, they're starting to take a grab and a hold of the mantle and starting to establish themselves as icons and the new faces of the league. Also, a big shout out to a couple of the other OGs in the NBA: Russell Westbrook, James Harden, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. You could put Kyrie Irving in that conversation, Anthony Davis. All these guys are still playing at a very high level, just like the previous three guys I mentioned of Steph, KD, and LeBron. And these guys, they're definitely icons and faces of the league. And I could go on all day talking about the previous icons, but these guys are still playing in the NBA at a relatively high level and have been faces of the league before, and they're still knocking around. Russell Westbrook, I look at Russ on the Sacramento Kings, you could argue that he's been the Kings' best player this season. James Harden playing at an all-time all-star level. Paul George, a little bit of a shaky situation, but Kawhi Leonard, he's been dropping 50 pieces like it's nothing. I mean, guys are still playing at a very high level, even though they're old heads. They're still playing very well, but it's come to a new time in the NBA. It's a new era in the NBA, and new stars have been born. And in today's video, I'm going to be talking about the new icons of the NBA who have established themselves. And this video is going to be split into three parts. So the first part is going to cover top 20 to 30 players ever. So players who are already in that top 20 to 30 players of all time conversation. The second part is going to be players on the verge of all time greatness. They're faces of the league, but they still have to do a little bit more to really put themselves into all-timer conversations. And the third category is going to be based on potential. So players who are relatively new to the league and have all the potential in the world, but have already established themselves to be one of the faces of the league. So let's get into it. Starting off with the icons of the NBA who have already put themselves in all-timer conversations. These guys are already top 20 to 30 players of all time, and they're even creeping into like top 10 conversations. That's how great they've been. They're a little bit on the older side, especially Giannis and Jokic. Shea is a bit younger compared to them, but these guys have accomplished so much in the NBA already. They're already faces of the league, and we're going to talk about every single one of them, what they've done so far, and what the next step for each guy is for them to boost up these rankings. First of all, we have to talk about one of the greatest basketball players of all time, Nikola Jokic. He's a 3-time MVP, 1-time NBA champion, Finals MVP, 8-time NBA All-Star, and he's one of the greatest players we've ever seen. I mean, of recent times, he's been a walking triple-double. The last 2 seasons, he's been averaging a 30-point triple-double, and the numbers he puts up are video game numbers. Like, the triple-double is already impressive enough as it is, but the efficiency, the way he does it, he is a whole system. He makes Denver competitive by himself. That's how good of a basketball player he is. And you look at him in the playoffs, I mean, he's one of the greatest playoff performers of all time. And some of the competition he's knocked out has been ridiculous to see. I mean, he made Kevin Durant and Devin Booker look like they were nothing. He made the Lakers with Anthony Davis and LeBron James look like nothing. He is one of the greatest basketball players ever, and I wouldn't be mad at people saying that he's a top 10 player of all time, because if you look at the individual basketball player in terms of skill set, ability, the way he performs, he's definitely a top 10 player of all time caliber of player. However, the one thing that's holding Nikola Jokic back from being an established top 10 player of all time is the fact that he only has one NBA championship. And this is not Nikola Jokic's fault, because after they won the championship, the Denver Nuggets have failed Nikola Jokic in terms of recruitment, in terms of making the right deals during the offseason, in terms of the Denver Nuggets being extremely cheap. Injuries have played a big factor, but Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets this year are stacked. They have an excellent team this year. They're very stacked. They've got great depth. I look at Jamal Murray. He's playing the best basketball of his career. I look at Cameron Johnson, he can play all-star caliber ball. Tim Hardaway Jr. has been sensational for them, a great depth piece and somebody who adds more shooting, which is extremely dangerous around Jokic. You got Aaron Gordon, who's playing really well. Peyton Watson, ever since Nikola Jokic has been out due to that unfortunate injury, Peyton Watson has been playing at an all-star level. And then you got guys like Valanciunas, who in my opinion has been the best backup big for Jokic since he's entered the league for the Denver Nuggets. So this team, it's extremely stacked. It's got really good players. And it's so stacked that I even missed one player out. Spencer Jones. An unbelievable wing who can shoot the three and play defense at a high level. This team is really good this year. Really, really good. I didn't even mention Christian Brown or Jalen Pickett. Christian Brown, he's having a bit of a disappointing season, but he still has shown that he can be a winning player and a really good NBA player. So this team, it's really good, and I feel like the Denver Nuggets definitely have a great chance of winning the championship. And that's the only thing that Jokic is missing. If he wins one or two more championships in his career, in my opinion, with the MVPs he has, the individual statistics, the player in terms of skill set and ability, if he gets one or two more championships, he's definitely a top 10 player of all time. And now moving on to our second NBA icon, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. In terms of his resume, it speaks for itself. He's an NBA MVP in 2025, NBA champion in 2025, NBA Finals MVP in 2025, and NBA scoring champion in 2025. And I think it's safe to say that 2025 was a generational year for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I mean, he accomplished pretty much everything. He's also a four-time NBA All-Star. Shai, it's really weird with Shai because a couple of years ago, 3 to 4 years ago, the guy just kept on scoring 30 points per game. He was so consistent and he did it so quietly and so casually in a nonchalant way, in a Shai Gilgeous-Alexander way. And he just established himself as one of the best players in the NBA. But in terms of his game, it's so beautiful to watch because he's a master in the mid-range. The way he gets to his spot, his handle is tight. Nobody can really block or contest his shot because he's so good at getting to his spots, taking his time. He's one of the most poised and composed players I've ever seen in my life. And you can make a strong argument that he's the most efficient guard ever. I mean, this guy shoots over 50% every single game. That is so impressive as a guard. And he just keeps on improving as well in terms of the playmaking. He doesn't turn the ball over too much. The three ball's been falling in at a very efficient rate this year. A lot of people do criticize him for foul baiting, but at the end of the day, he knows how to manipulate the game at a very high level. He knows how to get to the line and put pressure on defenses. You have to commend him for that. And yeah, man, this guy is one of the greatest players I've ever seen, we've ever seen. And look, he's on road to winning another MVP this season as well. The OKC Thunder, they're once again the best team in the NBA by a country mile in terms of record. And if he keeps on going at this rate, he definitely can enter those top 10 conversations. So only time will tell. And the next step for Shai to get to that next level, in my opinion, is just keep doing what you're doing. If he goes at the rate which he's going this season, I think he's winning another MVP. The OKC Thunder, they're primed to win another championship this year. So that's all Shai has to do. He needs to pick up more MVPs and more championships. And he's primed in the position to do that. He's in the best position in the NBA. The OKC Thunder, they're very well coached. They got a lot of talent on that team. They're the best team in the NBA. So if Shai can accumulate a couple more MVPs and a couple more championships, he definitely can get in those Kobe and Michael Jordan conversations, whether you like it or not. And the final icon in this category I'm going to be talking about is Giannis Antetokounmpo. His resume speaks for itself. Two-time MVP in 2019 and 20, NBA championship in 2021, Finals MVP in 2021, Defensive Player of the Year in 2020, 10-time All-Star, NBA Cup MVP and champion. This guy's resume is stacked. It feels like he's been in the NBA forever because he's done so much throughout his career. He's only 31 years old and look, they call him the Greek Freak for a reason. One of the most dominant players we've ever seen of all time. The way he gets to the rim, the way he finishes, one of the greatest finishers. I mean, people really undervalue his skill set in terms of running to the rim full speed and finishing. That is an extremely difficult skill. It's not like all his buckets are lobs. No, he's creating all these buckets for himself and he's improved as a playmaker and as a mid-range shooter as well. So he's a player that always wants to improve. He has one of the highest motors of a basketball player I've ever seen in my life. One of the hardest playing players ever. So for sure, Giannis Antetokounmpo, he's one of the greatest players of all time. In my opinion, a top 20 basketball player of all time. And at such a young age, he's already accomplished so much and is definitely a big icon in the NBA. And the next step for Giannis Antetokounmpo to add to his greatness is quite a weird situation because the other two guys I mentioned and Giannis, right, they don't have anything left to prove. They've done everything in the NBA. Now it's just adding on to their greatness and try and boost them to higher rankings in terms of all-time rankings. But it feels like we've entered a new era in terms of Jokic and Shea winning MVPs. Right, Giannis, he's been out of that conversation. He's been in the conversation, but he's been out of that conversation because he consistently finishes third in these MVP races. But number 1 and 2 are so clear of that third spot, if you know what I'm trying to say. So he hasn't really been a front runner to win MVP the last couple of years because Shea and Jokic are dominating. And in terms of championship aspirations, the Milwaukee Bucks, they're really bad. They haven't been able to compete for the last couple of years, whereas Shea and Jokic, their teams are two of the best teams in the NBA. So Giannis is in the complete opposite situation of the other two guys, where it's very difficult for him to add on to his resume if he stays in at Milwaukee. And that's the reason why there's been a lot of trade rumors regarding Giannis, whether he should stay or leave Milwaukee. And we're going to find out very, very soon. But the next step for Giannis is very difficult to predict because he's not in a situation where he can win an MVP or another championship. And maybe the best course of action for Giannis is to leave Milwaukee and move to a contending team. And now moving on to our next set of NBA icons who are on the verge of all-time greatness. And this category consists of Anthony Edwards, Jason Tatum and Luka Doncic. First of all, I'm going to start off with Jason Tatum. He was the NBA championship in 2024 and he's a 6-time NBA All-Star and he's got so many first-team All-NBA selections as well. He's still a young player and he's achieved so much already. And in my opinion, Jason Tatum is in that purgatory state of he's nearly an all-timer, but he's also on the verge of becoming an all-timer, if you know what I'm trying to say. And the reason for that is because he doesn't have the finals MVP and he doesn't have the MVP to really push him into certain conversations. But with that being said, what Jason Tatum has done has been nothing short of remarkable. The longevity, the playoff runs. I mean, I can't name too many players who've had deeper and consistent playoff runs at such a young age like Jason Tatum. He's achieved so much in his career and he still has so much more to do. So time will tell how much more he's going to achieve. But Jason Tatum, in my opinion, he's one of the greatest ever. But he still has a little bit more to do to really crack that top 20 to 30 player of all time type of ranking. And in terms of the next step for Jason Tatum, first of all, fully recover from that Achilles tear injury. I've seen his recovery process and videos he's posting and his recovery has been nothing short of remarkable. And that's a testament to how much he's put in terms of his recovery and how he looks after his body in general, because a normal person should not be able to recover from an Achilles tear the way Jason Tatum has had done. And in my opinion, that shows how much work Jason Tatum puts into his game and his body. Because time and time again, we've seen Jason Tatum and the Boston Celtics make deep playoff runs. And Jason Tatum's been an Iron Man. He's never been injured. He's been at the forefront of these deep playoff runs. He's been available. And you just have to give credit to a guy like that, man. No controversies, no injuries, no problems. He's always played basketball and hooped at a very high level. But the one thing that's stopping Jason Tatum from reaching that next level is winning that MVP and also winning that finals MVP. If he can do that, for sure, he's a top 20 to 30 NBA player of all time. Now moving on to our second icon within the category of upcoming stars that are about to reach all-time status. We're going to talk about Luka Doncic. He's a 6-time NBA All-Star, NBA scoring champion in 2024, and it looks like he's going to win the scoring champion this season as well. And what can I say about Luka? One of the greatest offensive players we've ever seen, one of the highest IQ players when it comes to offense. I mean, this guy is an absolute genius on the basketball court. He can score at will, he can create for his teammates, one of the most creative and imaginative players we've seen. His ability to decelerate and get buckets is second to none. He can score on every single level at a very high level, and we've seen him make deep playoff runs and have legendary playoff moments at such a young age in his career. But there's only one thing remaining: for him to win a championship. And he was so close a couple of years ago. However, the Dallas Mavericks did lose to the Boston Celtics in the 2024 NBA Finals. But Luka Doncic, he's got all the numbers, he's got all the moments. He's only missing the final pieces, which is the MVP and the championship. And the next step for Luka Doncic is simple. He needs to win a championship and an MVP to really put him on that next level into all-time conversations when it comes to top 20 to 30 players of all time. He's got all the playoff moments, he's got the statistics, he's got the individual seasons. He just needs to get to that final step, and also he needs to fix up his defense, because his defense at times is completely abysmal. And for the Lakers to win a championship, Luka doesn't have to be elite defensively, but he cannot be a liability, and he needs to try on that end of the floor. That is the main thing that's stopping Luka Doncic from winning a championship and an MVP. And this comes down to effort and mentality. Luka needs to change his mentality, and if he can be very, very special. Like, he's already special in the NBA, but him playing defense at any type of level could really take his game to the next level. And the next superstar slash icon in this category I'm going to be talking about is Anthony Edwards. And you can make a strong argument that Anthony Edwards is definitely not on the level of a Tatum or Luka Doncic in terms of accomplishments. But in my opinion, I feel like Anthony Edwards has done this for a long enough time. He's had moments in the playoffs. He's had deep playoff runs. Obviously, he has made 2 Western Conference Finals. He's got the longevity. So for me, you can make an argument that he could go in that potential category. But in my opinion, he's definitely on the verge of becoming an all-timer. Because if he wins an MVP or a championship, he definitely can be in all-timer conversations, because he's got the game, he's got the moments, he's got the charisma, he's got the whole package. It's just those individual accomplishments that he needs to get to really be put onto that next level. Hence the reason why I put him in this category. Is he ranked a little bit lower compared to a Tatum and a Luka Doncic? For sure. But he's definitely in those conversations. And Anthony Edwards, in terms of his game, one of the most exciting young players in the NBA. His game is so attractive to watch in terms of his athleticism, his play style, his skill set. And one thing about Anthony Edwards that I love is that every single season he makes a major improvement to his game. Last year he added that pull-up 3 to his game, and this year he's becoming a master in the mid-range area, and he somehow finds a way to improve every year. And that's what I love about Anthony Edwards. And if he keeps on going at this trajectory, he can be one of the greatest players ever for sure. And the next step for Anthony Edwards is very clear. First of all, in terms of individual accomplishments, try and get an MVP. In my opinion, Anthony Edwards can get an MVP in his career. That's not impossible. The way his career is going, he's improving, he's adding to his game. He knows exactly what to work on to take his game to the next level. I have no doubt that Anthony Edwards in the foreseeable future will win an MVP. But for me, the main thing is you have to lead the Minnesota Timberwolves to an NBA championship. And he's been close. He's been to 2 Western Conference Finals. Did he get dominated by those teams in the OKC Thunder and the Dallas Mavericks in those Western Conference Finals? Yes, but he's had a taste of what it feels like to go deep in the playoffs. And he's maturing every single year. He's getting better every single year. And the Minnesota Timberwolves, they're definitely up there for contenders in the Western Conference. The main question is, can Anthony Edwards lead the Minnesota Timberwolves to an NBA championship? And if he does, that will just take his stature to a completely different level, and that will boost him significantly when it comes to all-timer conversations. And the final category of icons as superstars that I'm going to be talking about is the potential players. And there's only one player in this category, and that's Victor Wembanyama. And Wembanyama, at an early stage of his career, he's already a 2-time All-Star. He's just been announced as a starter in the 2026 All-Star game. And what can you say about Victor Wembanyama? This guy's an alien. He's a defensive presence that we've never seen in our lifetime. I mean, the impact that he has defensively on a basketball court, it's alien-like. It's not even human. It's night and day when Victor Wembanyama's on the court defensively. And in terms of his game, he's just a guard in a 7'5" body. He can do everything that a guard can do in terms of handling the ball, shooting the ball, and he knows how to use his size now. You know, at the beginning, he found it difficult to get easier buckets, but now he understands that he's 7'5" and he can dominate absolutely everybody, and he's understanding how to get easier buckets, and that's scary for the rest of the league. And in my opinion, he already should be winning DPO wise, but the biggest concern for him is the health and whether he can play enough games in the regular season and whether his body can keep up into the playoffs, because injuries have definitely been a concern for Victor Wembanyama, and it's kind of limited him to win those individual awards and accomplishments. But in terms of how he's looked and played when he's on the court, it's been nothing short of remarkable. He's got the complete package, and the only thing we can pray for is his health. And the next step for Wemby, in my opinion, is to get healthy. You know, he's at such a young stage of his career, and the San Antonio Spurs, they're in a position where they can try and win championships. I mean, they beat the OKC Thunder 3 times, the defending champions. They clearly have shown that they can compete at the highest level in the NBA and can win at the highest level. And I feel like the team that San Antonio have, they're young, they're hungry, they're one of the best defensive teams in the NBA, and you also have a very reliable second option in De'Aaron Fox. The San Antonio Spurs, they're built to win right now, and they have a very good opportunity to win the NBA championship this year. I know there's OKC and there's Denver and there's Minnesota, but San Antonio, they're right there, and you have to beat them to get to the NBA Finals, because they're one of them teams you have to beat to get to the later stages of the playoffs. So in my opinion, Victor Wembanyama, he has a great chance of going all the way. And as I said, the next step for Wemby is just to get as healthy as possible so he doesn't miss out on awards. He doesn't miss out on All-Stars. He doesn't miss out on MVP. He doesn't miss out on DPOYs, because all these awards, they're right there for him to win every single season. And look, a lot of it is down to luck, because Victor Wembanyama, he takes care of his body. He's a true professional. He's obsessed with getting better at the game. And unfortunately, due to luck, poor luck in fact, Victor Wembanyama has been hurt, but the next step for him is to be healthy and available. I also want to close out with honourable mentions for the next icons/faces of the NBA, and I need to start off with Tyrese Haliburton, because this guy has been playing at a really high level for a couple of years now. He's a guaranteed 20 and 10 every single season, and the playoff run he had last season was just absolutely magical. And if he was healthy this season, I would have definitely put him in this video, and I would have squeezed him in one of the categories. But compared to the other guys, the longevity hasn't been there. But in my opinion, if he was healthy this season, he's definitely a face and a superstar and icon in the NBA, because the amount of moments he had in the playoffs, carrying that Pacers team to the NBA Finals, it was one of the most legendary and magical playoff runs I've ever seen in my life. And hopefully he recovers as fast as possible, because the NBA hasn't been the same without Tyrese Haliburton. Another guy I want to give a huge props to is Jalen Brunson. Obviously, he was quite unknown when he was at the Dallas Mavericks, and then obviously the last season he scored like 45 points against the Utah Jazz in the playoffs with the Dallas Mavericks, and then he moved to the Knicks and just turned into a star over there. He's made deep playoff runs as well, but I just need to see a little bit more to make him one of the faces of the NBA. He does play for a big market, which helps, but just a little bit more to his resume is needed. And then the next guy is Cade Cunningham, one of the best point guards, one of the best young guards in the NBA. He's leading the Detroit Pistons to the #1 seed in the East right now. They're playing great ball. He's putting up great numbers, but once again, he needs to get a bit further in the playoffs. The furthest he's been is in the first round, but he definitely has the potential and the capability to be one of the faces and superstars in the NBA. The next guy, in my opinion, he is a superstar, but the constant injuries have let him down, and that's Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is already an MVP. He's already a superstar, but injuries have slowed him down, man. And it's very difficult to put him in the face or as an icon of the NBA as of right now, because we don't see him enough. With that being said, Joel Embiid, ever since 2026 has started, has been playing superstar basketball, and hopefully he can maintain it. Another guy I need to give huge props to is Tyrese Maxey, because this guy just improves year on year on year, and he's averaging 30 points per game in Philly, which is a big market, and he has the ability and also the personality to be a superstar in the NBA. The next guy I want to give an honourable mention to is Ja Morant, and Ja Morant really should be in the forefront of this video. In terms of the game, the personality, he has everything to be an icon and a superstar. He even has shoes that sell out all the time. But the off-the-court issues has limited Ja Morant, and it's really prevented him from being one of the faces and an icon in the NBA. And the final honourable mention is Jaylen Brown. I need to give this guy all the credit in the world as well, because him and Tatum, help the Celtics make deep playoff runs all the time. It's not only Jason Tatum. Jaylen Brown is a big part of that. This year, he's playing the most magnificent basketball of his career. He's obviously a finals MVP. So this guy is definitely a superstar. He's definitely playing superstar caliber basketball. But the thing about Jaylen Brown is he's not as marketable as these other stars. I have no idea why, because Jaylen Brown is a terrific basketball player, but there's just something missing that prevents him from being the face of the NBA. But with that being said, he is streaming and his streams are entertaining as hell. And I feel like that's pushing his status a bit more. So I think he's very slowly creeping into that icon and superstar status. So all these guys, they're on the verge of becoming faces and icons. And this really tells me that the NBA is in a great place. There's so many stars that we can look at, and we're not only relying on the old stars now to carry the NBA, like the Lebron, like the Stephs, like the KDs. There's new faces coming in. They're adding excitement to the NBA. And in my opinion, the NBA is in a great place right now. What do you guys think? Thank you for watching the video. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and peace.